Carolina Panthers OTAs start May 27th. And I slept on it. I thought about it. What's the main difference between the Panthers this year and last year? Unequivocally, it's the idea that this is Bryce Young's team. I did not feel comfortable saying that the Carolina Panthers were Bryce Young's team in 2024. The offseason felt all force-fed. We were force-fed this narrative that Bryce Young is a leader and the second-year leap, and Canales would go on and on about the improvement and how much he's showing, and then we get to week 2, and next thing you know, Bryce Young's benched. And it was all just, it seemed like everything we were being told was just a smokescreen to defend us from reality, which was the Panthers roster wasn't good, and they didn't have much faith in Bryce Young. Now it feels like this is a team that has a lot of faith in their third-year quarterback. They went and drafted his buddy from California. They go and bring in McMillan, who grew up 12 miles down the road from Bryce Young. They're doing right by their quarterback. They have faith in their quarterback. They're invested in their quarterback. They had needs all over the field. Instead of drafting a tackle when you know Taylor Moton is not here long term. His contract expires. He's 31. Where does he go in 2026? Ekemekwana, they waited until the last second to accept his fifth-year option. What's the future for the Carolina Panthers? Left tackle. You could have gone tackle in the draft. Could have gone with one of the prominent edge rushers from Georgia, Mykel Williams, or hometown kid, Jalen Walker from Salisbury, North Carolina. You could have done these things as Dan Morgan. The Panthers front office decided to go and support their quarterback when they drafted McMillan. And now Bryce Young, it's on his shoulders. You feel confident that it is. But OTAs, the summer starts. It's time for Bryce Young to go and really lead the charge here. And that's what I'm looking for. That's what I am looking to see. But I'm also more confident too. I'm more confident that Bryce Young is going to be able to lead the Carolina Panthers to success in 2025. And it starts with this new wide receiver room, which is absolutely electric. Imagine if you were on a road trip with all the Carolina Panthers wide receivers. You have 6'4" Blake Griffin of the NFL, Jalen Coker next to you. You're like, this guy's too big to be a receiver. You have Xavier Legette, who is probably the most famous wide receiver in football right now, building a brand. McMillan, 8th overall pick from Arizona. Hey, how you doing? You even have friggin' Hunter Renfrow. Hunter Renfrow is playing again after sitting all of 2024 out with ulcerative colitis. He lost, I believe it was like 40 pounds, and now he is back in the NFL. A comeback story, a guy who's likable, Carolina kid, Hunter Renfrow, back in the NFL on the Panthers. And now this Jimmy Horn character from Colorado, not Travis Hunter, another Buffalo's wide receiver, is really burning it up on the practice field. I was looking at Panther social media. Jimmy Horn's going big viral, like millions of views. And then you have the 34-year-old, the ever young, evergreen Adam Thielen. And a recent statistic I show you is the top of the league in separation by one statistical category. A guy who can still play at a high level, Adam Thielen. Not only is this wide receiver room wildly entertaining with tons of characters and just, you can beat teams in a million ways. Jimmy Horn's going to blow the tops off defenses, hopefully. McMillan looks like Justin Jefferson. He is fluid. He is fluid. It's the only word I could use to describe McMillan's route running. It is just fluid. There's certain players where the ball just comes to them. It's like a magnet. They're not out there clapping their hands like alligators. The ball it responds in their hands. For like a brief moment, you lose the ball. That is what it's like watching McMillan run routes and catch the ball in Carolina right now. This wide receiver room should have you completely energized. if you're a Panthers fan, if you're watching this team in 2025. And Mike Kay of the Charlotte Observer, he did an unbelievable article. You can find it on the Charlotte Observer's website, but he interviewed Rob Moore. And Rob Moore had this interesting quote, jumps right off the paper to me. And Moore, when talking about Tetairoa McMillan, the Carolina Panthers first-round pick, he had this to say. When you give him information, he takes it to heart. He wants to make sure he's doing it right. Tetairoa McMillan takes it to heart. And that is something that we all needed to hear. One, with any wide receiver, these guys have massive egos. You have no idea who's in the room with you. You don't know if they're listening to you or anybody else for that matter. It's one of the most egocentric positions in all of sports. But also with T-Mac, that was supposedly, that's why it was thrown around. He went down draft boards. I guess people didn't think he was in it to learn. He thought he knew everything. Well, according to Rob Moore, who's a stud wide receiver in the NFL himself, and Carolina Panthers' current wide receiver coach, he thinks Tetairoa McMillan is learning, taking initiative, and that is what you want to hear. And Moore even goes on to say in this article by Mike Kay on the Charlotte Observer, he understands that the play strength is going to be different at this level. The speed is different at this level. And Moore says of Tetairoa McMillan, but I think he has a skill set that will lend him to having a lot of success. A good early observation from a guy who's in the room with Tetairoa McMillan. Panthers wide receiver coach Rob Moore has a lot of faith in the Carolina Panthers rookie wide receiver in 2025. The roster's improving, folks. The roster's improving. The wide receiver room, it's just like wide receiver and quarterback, when those positions play well, it almost negates losses. Like if you have a high-flying offense that's fun to watch and the win-loss column's not that great, I almost rather watch that than like the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like would I rather watch Mike Tomlin go 9-8, 10-7 and just run the ball and play good defense? Or would I rather watch a Panthers team with high-flying wide receivers and they're blowing the tops off defense? I don't know. I like the entertainment value, and that's what wide receivers give me. It's free entertainment on Sundays. This article, again by Mike Kay, amazing. He doesn't miss. 7 Panthers veterans who need strong summers following free agency, draft. This is by Mike Kay on the Charlotte Observer. First sentence here jumps right. I'm like, yes, Mike. The Carolina Panthers won't be dependent on the cut-down waiver wire to fill their 53-man roster this year. And I read that, and that's just like lyrical gold. It's like a freaking Lil Wayne album. And it's so beautiful to me because do you remember when Dan Morgan was talking about churning the roster? Dan Morgan's the best con man in American history because he had every Panthers fan convinced that it was somehow good and we should be pumped up that they're churning the roster last year. We're excited to churn this roster like it's a vanilla bean ice cream gallon. That was just code for we're not content with what we have on the roster. So, like a late night Walmart run, we're going to go to the retail giant and pull everything we can off the shelves. The Panthers were cutting players left and right, just trying to scrap. Just trying to scrap to fill the holes on the roster. Clearly, that's not the case this year. And you feel it. You feel it. Mike Kay goes on to list players who he thinks could potentially be on the way out in Carolina. They need to have strong summers. Of the list, Shai Tuttle, defensive tackle. David Moore, wide receiver. Josh Neiman, tackle. Raheem Blackshear, long-term running back and kick returner. DJ Johnson, wow, outside linebacker. Dan Chisna, who I love, Penn State alum. And Amari Barno. The two that I really think of here is Josh Neiman and DJ Johnson. Last year, these were guys that you were talking about having starting roles. Josh Neiman, You were like, okay, when a Kemikwan does not do well, it's Josh Neiman's job. DJ Johnson, I think he was your week 1 starter at edge. Well, you did so well in the draft. Nick Scorton, Princely McMillan at edge. You have faith in these guys. You brought back Cade Mays. You signed Brady Christensen to a 1-year deal. You bring back some of the other players that have been in this system a while. And the bedrock of this roster, I don't think you have a lot of stallions, but you have a ton of great ponies. The Panthers have a roster that feels good. The top end, I don't know. It doesn't seem like you have a lot of star power besides Derek Brown and J.C. Horn. But just the idea that you're in a position to finally release Shai Tuttle, who is, I believe, historically bad at defensive tackle last year. And David Moore, who I have a soft spot in my heart for wide receiver David Moore. That Chiefs game, 6 catches, 81 yards. He had a big part in that game. But because you're confident in Jimmy Horn, because you're confident in some of these other fringe roster wide receivers, well, you can get rid of fringe roster wide receiver David Moore, who's a veteran, and, you give the position to a younger player. Josh Neiman, same thing. You're confident with what you have on the O-line. And it feels so good to be in that position where it's no longer, we just need to piece things together and throw guys uniforms and fly some dude who is on the Kansas City Chiefs practice squad to Charlotte so we can get him suited up for a game on Sunday. You're not going to have that because you've done a good job drafting, because Dan Morgan has brought in players that inspire some semblance of confidence. Who needs to step up? What guys need to step up in 2025? Here are my 3 candidates. 1, Ja'Tavion Sanders. I think Ja'Tavion Sanders is in a unique position where he can go off, he can immerse himself in this offense and be a true bona fide tight end 1, but he also could be potentially sidelined by Mitchell Evans, the rookie from Notre Dame, who's a strong blocker, and also Tommy Tremble, who they re-signed. I think this is JT Sanders' job to lose, but it's also his job to get. Go prove that you're a starting caliber tight end. And I think he had a strong performance last year. He put some games together last year before the neck injury that looked really bad. He's healthy. He's ready to go. He is one key player that needs to step up. These other two, a lot more, they need to step up or the Panthers are in a bad spot. First guy, Lathan Ransom. Rookie safety from Ohio State. I think Ransom needs to be a starting caliber safety. It doesn't feel like Dan Morgan is going to do much more at that position. You have Trevon Moehrig, who you signed to a big contract. You're excited about him. But you need another safety. You need 2. Ransom needs to earn that job. Maybe Jamie Robinson does it. I don't know. He played okay last year at points. But Ransom, he needs to be a find in the draft. And you're looking for a couple of those now, but I think Ransom even more than Jimmy Horn. 2 later round picks. If you ask me which one needs to step up, it's Ransom over Horn. As much as Horn is shining early on in rookie minicamp and going viral in all the footage we've seen. Third guy, Chow Smith-Wade. A name that doesn't come up all that often. He was injured a lot of last year, played well in the nickel when he was on the field. Had a couple interceptions in there. You need a corner outside of J.C. Horn. J.C. Horn, Derek Brown, all reliable, solid, all-pro caliber players. At corner, you have Mike Jackson and Chow Smith-Wade behind J.C. Horn. I think Mike Jackson's serviceable. I think he's he's your starter, okay. I'd probably put him in the 3rd spot, but okay. Chow Smith-Wade, he's a guy that needs to grow in 2025, his 2nd year in the NFL. If he takes the next step, I think the Panthers secondary, along with a strong next step into the pro level for ransom, I think the Panthers are in a good spot if those are guys that can play at a high level. That's it for this segment. This is The Tone, your favorite Carolina Panthers podcast. We have so much planned for you. OTAs start next week. Don't miss all the coverage here on The Tone.